How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, this is Lost Heroes of the Golden Age, and this time we are doing... Why did you play that?
You said we were doing Birdman.
Not that Birdman. That Birdman didn't come out until the 1960s.
How can you be sure of that?
Well, considering it's a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, and Hanna-Barbera didn't start until 1957, yeah, I'm fairly certain this isn't the same one. Hey, anyways, this is an interesting thing. Well, the first three issues are more interesting than the fourth. The fourth one seemed more kind of run-of-the-mill. This isn't the first time I've done a flying superhero or a superhero with wings, but I think this is one of the very first superheroes where the wings weren't an artificial construct, like with Red Raven and Airman. This one, it wasn't extremely popular, and I think the only reason it's called Birdman is because he has wings. There are no other bird features associated with it. Airman would have made more sense to be called Birdman. This is a quick four-parter series, and it's weird. And if they had stuck with the premise of the first three, I could have seen this feature going on a lot longer. But it wasn't extremely popular. It was close to a backup feature, not exactly a backup feature. But I don't know. It like I said, it wasn't extremely popular. We're going over Birdman, and I don't think they really knew what they wanted to do with him. I think this was more of a, hey, I have an idea, let's make a couple of issues out of it. And the fourth story, which I talk about, is really evidence of the fact that they didn't know what they wanted to do with this one. So let's go ahead and go over Birdman, which, like I said, it's not very many issues, and then, hey, we'll have another hero under the belt. Let's do this. Birdman, real name unknown, first appeared in Weird Comics #1 in 1940. The original publisher is Fox, and he is created by Arnold Mazzo. I think I'm saying that last name right. I might be mistaken it. Now, Birdman only had 4 appearances. In the fourth appearance, if it didn't reference the stuff from the first appearance, I would have thought it was a completely different character by how much they switched this. Well, let's go over Birdman real quick. Birdman, he's got wings. Now, he's far from the first winged character in comics. I've covered a number of characters who most of those characters have artificial wings. He actually has wings. They're attached to him. Now, in the first 3 appearances, the wings that are attached to his arms extend from his wrist to his shoulders. And you can see here how they're attached. And then over here in his fourth appearance, not only are the wings completely different, they're more like angel wings than just regular feather wings from like a bird. They're attached to his back instead of attached to his arms. Now, if you ask me, that makes more sense because he can use his arms without having to worry about changing the direction that he's flying. I think of them attached to his arms is kind of silly. Anyways, in the first 3 appearances, he wears a headband, he has a bow and arrow, and a knife, and it looks like he is protecting people in a desert-like climate. I'm thinking like Nevada or something. It is in the U.S. In his fourth appearance, he starts off in this, what looks like a luxury high-rise apartment, wearing a smoking jacket, listening to the radio about a famous inventor with a chemical compound that can be used as a high explosive. Yeah, a completely different change. No bow and arrow, no knife, and no headband like he has in the first 3 appearances. And if it didn't say the Birdman, descendant of the ancient Indian god and gifted with the ability to fly, I would have thought that this was a different character in number 3. The number 4th appearance totally does just as like, I mean, even more than a 180. It's nothing like the other 3 appearances. Now, we're going to go over the first appearance, and I mean, they're not bad. They're really simple stories. In fact, the first 3, there's not a lot of text in each one of the panels, so the story goes by rather quickly. The 4th has so much talking and conversations between people, it actually becomes a little bogged down. And in the 4th appearance, he doesn't fight Nazis, but he's fighting a foreign power. And that's what they call it, a foreign power. There's this scientist who creates a chemical that he wants to use for scientific purposes, but with a high impact of this chemical compound, it becomes explosive, and the foreign power wants to get a hold of this chemical so they can use it in their war. Now, they're not wearing brown, they don't have yellow skin, and there's no Iron Cross or Nazi symbolism, but it's highly emphasized. And if you read the 4th appearance, you'll see how highly emphasized it is. In the first appearance, he rescues a girl to help some people who wandered out into the desert. And the second appearance, he helps what looks like an Indian village that have been attacked by gigantic lizard creatures, and he rescues the children. In the third appearance, he wrestles a couple of pumas with the help of a grizzly bear, dispatches them to look for the brother of this girl that he found who wandered out into the desert. Yeah. And we've gone over what happens in the 4th appearance. He doesn't have any superpowers. No speed, no agilities. I mean, he seems to be very proficient with the knife, so he has a proficiency with a deadly weapon. And when he fires his bow and arrow, he doesn't seem to miss, so he has some incredible archery skill. Considering that he's firing these arrows while flying, he's the moving target. That's actually very impressive. But none of that shows in the last appearance. So let's go ahead and cover Birdman. Now, he does take down a couple of airplanes, but not enough to be considered an ace. So, in the last appearance, one of the most common things that we see in the Golden Age, don't miss the next thrilling adventure of the Birdman. There are no more adventures of the Birdman. I don't know why in the Golden Age they would insist in saying, tune into the next comic book to see pictures of this guy where they're either number 1 not in, or number 2 the comic book doesn't exist anymore after that. Maybe they thought that they were going to do more, but no, the 4th story is kind of ridiculous. He takes the professor out of this clipper plane, puts him on an island where nobody can get to, takes the chemicals, destroys the foreign power, goes back and picks up the scientist that he put on this island that nobody can identify, it's out of the way of everywhere, and puts him back on the clipper plane so he can go to his original destination. That is both stupid, silly, and ridiculous. Okay, let's cover the first appearance, and you can see where they started doing this before the contrast completely separated in the 4th issue. The Birdman by Arnold Mazos. Over the vast wilderness of the great western canyon swoops the Birdman, winged hunter of the plains. And you see the background here, and the canyons, and the mountain ranges, which is why I was thinking like Nevada or something, because, I mean, that's where you have some of the greatest wildernesses, even back then. I mean, we were in this before Vegas, I think, possibly. All right. And I don't like the introduction here because you see a vague outline, the full picture, and then another vague outline. What they should have done was the vague outline, him standing before the ancient statue, and then a full picture. Vague, full, vague. I don't like... They should have switched these bottom two panels around. A descendant of the ancient Indian god, the Birdman is gifted with the ability to fly and the keenness of a bird of prey. So as we get to these three guys who are wandering around the desert area, it says, and search in the endless canyon for the lost girl. Look, a winged man. Maybe he took my daughter. Okay, I understand that the first person that you see, you want to claim, but you see a winged man, and not only do you think that he took your daughter, you shoot at him. I mean, you act so casual about a guy flying with wings attached to his arms like it's something that you see every day. Okay, so he shoots, he misses the Birdman, who drifts down unharmed. Do not fear me, wanderers. Oh no, because the sight of a guy flying with wings on his arms, bow and arrow on his back with a headband and a knife, that's nothing to fear. I mean, we see these things all the time. Okay, so he asks him what he's doing in this part of the canyon. They never identify where he's at. They're just talking about being in the canyon. So they talk about the lost daughter, and then one of the men collapses suddenly, weak from hunger and fatigue. The aged father collapses, and the jumping of this scene is weird, because here Birdman is talking to the three guys, and in the very next panel, he's flying high in the air, seeing a mountain lion. There's no transition. He's standing on the ground talking to them, and the next thing you know, he's flying over a mountain lion. Okay, so it looks like he subdued the mountain lion because it's lying down now, and he mentions there's a deer in the distance. Not knowing how far he shoots the arrow, he takes down the deer, flies over and picks it up and takes it to them. So apparently he's able to take a lot of weight while flying, which he's got the ability of flight. We're not going to question it. I mean, we can put our suspension of disbelief to assume that he can carry weight while he's flying. Okay, so he takes the carcass to the hungry men who are no longer on the road, surrounded by greenery that we really didn't see greenery before. Kind of a grass, but now there's shrubs. And there's a fire started. Snatching up the carcass, the Birdman returns to the grateful men who fall upon it hungrily. Yeah, they look like they're ripping this thing apart. Okay, meanwhile, at the barren home of the Stone Man, the old man daughter stands bound to a rock. Okay, you say the home of the Stone Man, but there's no dwelling of any type, and this guy's not made of stone where you would think that the rock is his house. But they call him the Stone Man. Surrounded by his evil creatures, the snowman sneers at the girl. You shall be the queen of Lone Canyon, my beautiful one. Hold on a second. Okay, although I wasn't able to find Lone Canyon, I found something called Lone Rock Canyon, which is located in Utah, which would be right next to Nevada. So my assessment of where this area is pretty close. Okay, and here's a sentence that kind of threw me off at first, and I had to look this one up. Suddenly, the Birdman alights before the Stone Man. I had no idea what the word alight means. Never seen it before. And in reference to birds, it means to descend. Why they couldn't just say suddenly the Birdman descends before the Stone Man, I don't know. I've read You know I've read dozens of Golden Age comic books. How many characters do I cover? Even flying characters. Alights. It's the first time I've ever seen it. I've never seen this word before. I had to look it up to see what it means. But, I don't know. Maybe they were just trying to sound big, using $10 words. I don't know. Anyways, he fires an arrow to free the girl, and the Stone Man sends the coyotes after Birdman, and it looks like there's about 3 coyotes here. And I love how he's grabbing this one coyote by the neck, bringing his knife down, while the other 2 are coming on to him. Fiercely, the animals leap at Birdman, their evil fangs bared. I know what bared means, but that's another big word that you didn't need to use. So he kills all the coyotes in time to see what looks... this is a big vulture. I want to say a turkey vulture. I've seen turkey vultures. This is even bigger than that. It's like the biggest vulture I've ever seen. Okay, so the vulture takes off with the girl. Swift as a light, he follows, fitting his silver arrow in a bow. Oh, so now he has a silver arrow. Are they all silver arrows? I don't know. Okay, now, I don't like the paneling here. I can follow it because of what's happening. Thank God there are no arrows, but it looks like the bird has been hit. The wounded bird drops his prey, swooping down. The Birdman catches the falling girl and takes her back to her father. I will be forever grateful to you. With a wave and a farewell, Birdman flies away over the canyon. Follow the flight of Birdman in the next issue. I'm glad that he sees them to safety before he flies away. Seriously. You've left them out in the middle of the desert. You know that. How far away they are from civilization. You didn't give them any water. Did they already use up the deer? Are they... Okay, story's over. Alright, I hope you liked that. I hope you learned something about Birdman. But... if you like these, hit the like and subscribe button. If you have any requests, you can go ahead and send those in. I love filling out requests. I still have many more heroes to do, but I always like to fill out requests. So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this one. Until next time, I'll be seeing you.